Lancer should have known better than to give in to the wrathfully cute eyes of little Miss. Whatever answer he gave to Winter Tulip wasn't going to matter, and he would receive Posy's wrath regardless. He sent Aries and Taurus ahead to make sure that the monorail system was cleared of any possible sabotage or maintenance issue, and then ordered the doubling of police presence in the Ponyville slums. As an extra measure, he, along with Winter Tulip and Governess Cheerilee, would be traveling under different identifiers as a family from Gaiopolis. It made Cheerilee happy for some reason when she should be worried for Winter's safety. When she asked her, she mumbled an answer he didn't quite get, but that was just like her to act shy in front of him. They traveled at the dead of night in the hopes of Winter being too tired to look out of the window to view the ugly sprawl of Gaiopolis and the Ponyville slums zooming by. Lancer tried to stay up to make sure her innocent view of her country would not be tarnished by obvious degradation and corruption of the government. He fell asleep in the very late hours, but the little filly woke up ahead of him and bounced impatiently for her mother and father to get up. So far so good. The arrival into the Ponyville train station was uneventful. The second hoof close made Lance's family appear ordinary, though hats, bundled manes and sunglasses aided in their disguise. There were more police here than even Gaiopolis, and their guard dogs sneered at any pony who even thought about getting a look at the recent arrivals. The mandatory porters were given a pass to move Lancer and her group's luggage. Of course, these porters were actually plainclothes agents, armed and willing to throw their lives away for the chancellors. Lancer wanted to use them as shields as they made their way to their waiting vehicle, but Winter had already galloped ahead. "She sure is excited to Ponyville," said Cheerilee. The time for small talk fell flat between them. Lancer was more worried about the little miss, but he had already planned ahead for this. Winter had already run into her other big brothers, Taurus and Aries, who were already waiting for the family with the window-tinted limousine running. Everything should be going according to plan, but it did not pass Winter's inspection. "Hey, I can see out of these windows," cried Winter. It's for your protection," said Lancer. "These windows are bulletproof and no pony from the outside can see you." But I can see out. I'm already in disguise. Why would I need all this? Isn't that why you're here, Big Brother Lancer? Isn't that why Taurus and Aries are here as well?" "We are your protection, little miss." I know, but didn't you say that Ponyville slums is a safe place like Gaiopolis?" "Yes, I did." "Then I wanted to ride in an open carriage." "I do not believe your mother would approve of you riding in one." "If you won't let me, I'll tell her that you and Cheerilee are getting married." "That's not a thing a lady should say lightly." Cheerilee blushed. "Surely Lancer has another mare in mind. Right, Lancer?" "Taxi!" Lancer cried. Two pony-drawn taxi carriages were hailed, with Aries and Taurus taking the rear and Lancer, Cheerilee and Winter Tulip taking the forward. The seating arrangement was small for the latter group, with Lancer sandwiched between a beet-red Cheerilee and an infinitely curious Winter. Despite Lancer's warning, Winter leaned out with a perfectly stiff posture as she watched the appalling conditions of her country, where empty shops and long lines were the norm. Every pony she had seen were unhappy, and the constant presence of police and clone soldiers, protectors of the citizenry, did nothing to uplift them. This was supposed to be the scheduled fall season, but small piles of snow on the sidewalks and gutter made the Ponyville slums appear cold and miserable. The carriages took them to the old Apple Highway 95 that led to what was known as Trader's Land, Sweet Apple Acres. Winter Tulip was warned not to run too far ahead or stray off the marked path for fear of landmines, but all she could see were holes and holes everywhere. Her hoofs took her to an area where the charred corpse of a barn house once stood, and she stubbed her sole toe on a stubby plank. The plank, charred like the rest of the wood, had splinters clamping onto the stems of 3 withered daisies. When Winter tried to get a closer look, a sudden wind shattered the daisies into pieces. Then something else drew Winter towards a small forest of charred trees. Ignoring Lancer and Cheerily's second warning about landmines, Winter trotted over to a particular tree that had burnt wooden structure nestled between its branches and trunks. It looked to be some foal's clubhouse, the kind of thing she had seen in books and magazines. Even at its faded and charred shape, she got a hint of what the clubhouse would have looked like in its prime. She imagined it having yellow painting railings and a vibrant and buffered finish. There would be a retractable step ramp to let members in and keep out enemies. There would also be a flower bed at the top window and a telescope at the top observation floor. It was disheartening to see such a place of fun and adventure in a terrible state. "Who lived here?" Winter asked as Lancer and Cheerily arrived behind her. "A family of traders and terrorists," replied Lancer, "all descended from Smart Cookie." Who? Who were their names?" The stallion remained silent. "Answer me, Lancer, don't lie to me." The rumble of a descending airship drew every pony's focus to the sky, but this wasn't any ordinary airship. This was Posy's sleek aerial flagship, and just as it appeared, it had immediately touched down to the ground along with 2 smaller escort airships. Clone soldiers funneled out information and lining up along the sides of a carpeted ramp. They stood at immediate attention as Chancellor Posey marched out of the shadow of the interior of her aerial flagship in her fascist military regalia. Cheerily and Lancer bowed out of the way as Mother approached the daughter with a stern glare. Then, without provocation, Posey slapped Winter. "We are going home," said the Chancellor. Obediently, the little filly marched behind Posey back into her airship. She knew not of the fates of Lancer and Cheerily, but could only assume harsh punishment would be dealt to them for not preventing Winter from leaving the palace. Despite all her harshness, Posey immediately procured an ice-cold cloth to apply to her daughter's reddened cheek, something the little filly did not want to receive during the ride home. Stubbornly, Winter tried to sit farthest from every pony, especially from her own mother. She made the Chancellor sadder by pushing away a mother's loving hoofs. "There is a good reason why you can't venture outside the palace," said Posey. So you can hide all the poverty in front of me?" Winter retorted. "That wasn't my intent, but it is true that there are ponies out there who are less fortunate than us. This is what the war between us and the Pegasi has caused. Food, clothing and shelter have been spread too thin throughout our country, and to my great regret, we literally do not have enough to distribute around." "Why not give all the foods we have to them?" "Our country needs to have us well fed so we can function properly and better serve their needs. Yet even the food allotted to us pale in comparison to the amount we give to every pony every year. For now, little Winter, every pony, including ourselves, will have to suffer until we defeat our winged enemies in the west. Okay, but can you at least tell me one thing? What do you wish to know, my daughter? Am I an apple? Posy sighed, and she suddenly hugged her daughter tightly. Whether you're an apple or not, you will always be my daughter. The sniffle from her mother made Winter feel guilty for upsetting her, and for the remainder of the ride they all remained silent. When they returned home, Posy cancelled all of her appointments just to spend an entire day with her daughter. She took over Cheerilee's lesson plans and made it more exciting by her inserting anecdotal stories about her time in the Air Force. Posy also personally cooked her lunch and dinner and then read her stories during bedtime. For that one night, Winter was allowed to sleep with her mother in the grand bedroom. Then, in the next morning, Posy was gone. The normal ritual and routine had resumed as if nothing happened, and again Winter Tulip was alone. On her way to breakfast, she spotted Cheerilee and Lancer separately from down the halls. They must have made it back, though she could not tell whether they were punished or not. As she sat by herself at the breakfast nook, Winter tapped the spoon on her bowl of oatmeal as she resumed contemplating her true identity. Her mother neither confirmed nor denied of her daughter being an apple, but at least it wouldn't matter in the end. However, the dreams and visions of fire continued to haunt the filly, and she still could not forget the grieving visage of Rebel Applejack. Winter did not want to break her mother's heart by forcing her to tell her truth, and she did not want to in any way strain their relationship. She did not want to disobey her any further, but she had no choice. There was one other pony who could tell her what she needed to know, and she needed to hear it directly from her. Winter would find her, no matter what. It took some schmoozing and a bit of bribery, but Applejack managed to land the janitorial duties for the kitchen over by the mayor's ward. That, and Mrs. Cake happened to let slip that one of her usual custodial workers caught the flu and was sent home. Applejack mopped her way to the storeroom, where she entered discreetly and quickly. She repeated the patterned knock Mrs. Cake gave her onto the manhole cover. 5 seconds later, it popped open, and out came a purple head with green spines running across his back. "I'm so glad to see you again, little fellow," said Applejack as she hugged the little dragon. "How's Try?" She's okay," Spike replied, "but she can't move or cast any spells. Are you ready to break out, AJ? Not yet. There's a couple of things I gotta do first. First is to break 2 of my friends and my big brother out." "Your brother is alive?" Half. Second, they got my element, and if Twi's not feeling alright, then I gotta get it back so she can move again. Thing is, I have no idea where it's at. Sure wish Pinky was still here." "Who's Pinky?" "Me!" cried a pink pony dressed in a black sneak suit and night vision goggles. The startled dragon hid behind Applejack as a pink head topped with a baby alligator popped out of the manhole. "What? How is it? What the hell are you doing here?" Applejack stuttered. "I told you I would come back," smiled Pinky. "So, what is it then? Selling fake unicorn horns?" "I was suggest that I was selling a suit made out of ponies' nature calls and pegasi wings, but then I realized that would look silly. Instead, I slipped through an old pipe and found myself here. Wow, so he's a baby dragon. Hi, I'm Pinkie Pie, and this is my home." The sewers or the prison?" asked Spike. "AJ, I'm getting a weird vibe from her. Is she some kind of mass murderer?" "She's just Pinky," said Applejack. And let's leave it at that. So, what's the mission, Captain Jack? The pink pony saluted. Okay, listen, there's this thing called the element of truth, and I think they still have it in this year prison. The element of truth, huh? If I know my secret prisons, then they must be holding it in the secret prison. There's a secret prison? Yeah, they call it Tartarus 02, and that's where they experiment on ponies. Creepy stuff happens down there, and it's up to Pinky to find out what's going on. Pinky, you do realize you don't have to do this. You're a free mare. I can find the secret prison on my own. I insist, AJ, because making my friends happy is what makes Pinkie Pie happy, and I won't accept no for an answer. I didn't even ask, and you don't have to. Bye. Wait. Agent Pinkie D. Pie, a.k.a. Miss Pink, a.k.a. the Pinkster, a.k.a. Princess Angelina Contessa Luisa Francesca Banana Fana Burbesca III, a.k.a. Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tivrascu IV, dressed in a pony-patented tactical espionage action gear, Pinkie bounced, dodged, rolled, and double-jumped through the hardly dangerous perils of rock prison sewers battling darkness, stinky sewer water, and boredom. Aiding her was Gummy, aka Gator Gaga, a baby alligator with not-so-dark mysterious past of being fished out of the toilet as an egg by dripping pink madness. Applejack can't escape without the element of truth, Pinkie said. Wouldn't she be so excited when we return back with it? What's that? Class 5 felony? Gummy, I know we're breaking the law, but AJ and her brother can't remain in this prison. She needs to go back to Twilight the Book, Smarty Unicorn, and Sunny Delight. I make sure that after they escape, I get caught so I can stay here forever. What do you mean I should go on an adventure with them? I can't leave all these ponies here. I do know that it's only AJ that can make her brother happy, and that there are many other ponies who are just sad as him. Sure, I was born here and Mom died here, but where else can I go? The most unhappiest ponies live here. Well, Pinkie can't dwell on these things right now. Here's the AC pipe to the secret prison. Take cover, Gummy. From underneath her black suit, Pinkie pulled out the plastic explosive bomb that she stuck on a thick pipe. She grabbed Gummy and dove to the farthest corner to take cover. The bomb's klaxons bust, and no sewer-shattering kaboom occurred. Pinkie returned to the back and sniffed at the misbehaving explosive. Silly me, she said. This is only some wires and some clay. Turning around, Pinkie bucked a large hole into the pipe that turned out to be weak from rust and age in the first place. A gust of air briefly escaped, and Pinkie took a quick look in to see that the drop appeared awfully deep and dark. She tested it by dropping a set of jacks and listened carefully for about a minute. No sound was heard, but the pink pony shrugged her shoulders and jumped in. Without a resounding whee, the pony and the baby alligator fell and tumbled through pipes, vents, and chutes that eventually spat them out onto the floor of a medieval catacomb prison where the walls were tall as were some of the doors. Secret prison mare, Pinkie whisper sang as she ducked from corner to corner, avoiding the clone guards patrolling the high security area. Secret prison. Pinkie covered her mouth as she hid behind a stack of boxes filled with various scientific equipment and computer gear. This bites. There were too many guards for her to sing her sneaking theme song, and all she could do is tip-hoof to any place where the element of truth might be. That sounded like an exciting treasure, and she heard stories that, aside being a part of a series of powerful magical artifacts, The element of truth could reveal whatever any pony wanted to know. It would be useful for her to find out where her sisters were in the world. Then again, the pink pony had no reason to know these things. She knew that her sisters were out there, somewhere alive and hopefully happy. That was all that mattered. What mattered was that she needed to make Applejack smile, and getting back her element was the best way for Pinkie to fulfill her destiny. Or else her name was Punching Judy, which it wasn't. But she did manage to elicit a laugh from a prison mare named Punching Judy before she was released about a year or so ago. Pinkie did not let the groans and screams echoing across the secret prison get to her, and she resisted peering through the barred viewing port to see who had been imprisoned here. Nonetheless, she succumbed to curious temptations anyway, and stood on her hind legs to view the first one. There, she found a drooling stallion wrapped in a straitjacket. Sensing neither happiness nor sadness from him, Pinkie zipped from cell to cell to make sure that wasn't the case for the other ponies. The prisoners either cackled madly, foamed at the mouth, drooled, or exhibited combinations thereof. In the third last cell, she saw a cheek and surprisingly mellow blue pony with a white mane who greeted a Guten Tag to her. In the second to last cell, Pinkie gasped in horror. She saw her friend and fellow team member Quirky Screw fluttering her lips with her hoof. And then at the last cell, she found Lucy Screw barking like a dog. Not too far, a large mechanical door opened, and a green pony scientist trotted into view. Pinkie immediately tackled her, and together they rolled back through the doors and into a lab area filled with long tables containing magical artifacts. Pinkie grabbed one of them to use as a potential weapon and aimed it at the scientist's muzzle. "Lyra!" she cried. "What's going on with every pony? Why are they acting crazier than me? Answer me, or I use this thing." "That's the power of the second element," replied the scientist. "All it does so far is drive ponies mad." "But how could you do this to my friends?" "Please, Pinkie, it wasn't my call. It's all Posey's idea." "Posey, huh? The biggest meanie of all meanies. Doesn't she know that she can't force ponies to be happy? How do we break the spell?" "I don't know. We haven't researched the second element enough to know how to reverse it. I swear, Pinkie, I never wanted all this to happen." The doors behind them opened, and in poured the clone guards for the pink pony's tackle. Pinkie, still carrying the potential dangerous artifact in her mouth, narrowly avoided their warning shots by leaping over one of the artifact tables and going through another door that led into a short and narrow hallway. She immediately jumped into the area behind the largest double doors and ran as fast as she could. Where she ended up was a dead end, and she slammed right into an enormous block of stone with an omega symbol glowing an ominous blue. The clone guards immediately surrounded Pinkie right as she recovered her senses, and about a dozen or so rifle barrels pointed at her. "Warden Bonbon," said Covalent Bond as he emerged into the chamber. "Who on earth's name is this mare?" Her name is Pinkamena Diane Pye," replied Bonbon, who appeared alongside him. "She used to be a prisoner here." "All right, every pony," Pinkie cried. "I have this thing in my hoof. Don't come any closer or I'll use it." "You idiot!" cried Covalent Bond. "That's a human hand exerciser. You can't do anything with it." "Aha! Trying to bluff me, aren't you? You wanted me to think that this is a useless bauble just so I can make you surrender." "I was the one who researched it, you fool. Guards, shoot her down." Unfortunately, the clone guards, in all their rigorous incubation programming and rigid military education, were not just puzzled but also frightened to shoot due to the presence of the unfamiliar artifact. Their mental vocabulary was specific, and fortunately the word human was not part of their repertoire. Even Bonbon shared their sentiment towards the mysterious artifact Pinky waved menacingly in the air. Angrily, Bond reached into one of the clone guard's holsters to grab a mouth-operated pistol and took 2 shots at his target. Neither bullet struck the pink pony, but in her panic she spun around and threw the artifact over the Initius block of stone, which then bounced off of one of the wall-mounted mechanical drill probes before tumbling over to the back wall. "Ha!" Pinky cried. "I damaged your precious block." "You damaged nothing," Bond retorted. Suddenly, the robotic drill probe fell apart. Several overhead lights shattered, and the ground cracked. The Initius block lurched forward and sank partway into widening crack towards a corner. Every pony then heard something catching on fire behind the one-way mirror in the next room. All Professor Bond could do was bite his lip in utter fury at the pink intruder. My bad?" smiled Pinky.